Welcome back to another episode at Orca Camp Vancouver Island's podcast. I'm your Orca pal Sandra, and I can't wait to dive into today's podcast. Today's topic: why do trip dates matter in order to get the highest chance in the world to see an orca? And here's the answer: salmon, seasonality, and let's talk about shoulder season. If you've ever looked at our Orca Camp dates and wondered, does it really matter which week I choose and which is the best time of year? The answer is yes. It matters more than most people realize. And the reason has everything to do with the Pacific salmon. Up here on Vancouver Island, the northern resident killer whales are fish eaters. They are not the typical orca you see on TV or on those animal shows where they hunt other dolphins and sharks and mammals. Our northern resident killer whales, they primarily look for salmon, especially the Chinook salmon. And salmon operates on their very precise calendars and their own timing. Pacific salmon, and I'll do another podcast just on the salmon part, but for now let's focus on the Pacific salmon are anadromous. That means they hatch in freshwater rivers, migrate out into the open ocean to grow, and then years later they return to the exact river system they were born in to spawn. Now, that return migration is what we call the salmon run. In our region here, Chinook salmon typically begins returning in meaningful numbers in July. The run strengthens through August and often continues into early to mid-September. During that window, there is significantly more biomass in the water, more salmon moving through channels, more feeding opportunity for the northern resident killer whale. And when the food moves, the resident orcas follow. Now, the northern resident killer whales are highly intelligent, family-oriented pods. They travel together, they communicate constantly, and they are strategic feeders. When salmon numbers increase, their movement often becomes more focused and more persistent in key feeding areas like our Orca Camp is located. Now, so when we build our expedition calendar for the year, we are not randomly picking dates in the summer. We are aligning it with the salmon movement because aligning with the food systems of the killer whale gives you one of the highest chances in the world to get a glimpse of a wild orca in its natural habitat. Now, let me be very clear. No one can guarantee wildlife sightings, and anyone who does is not being quite honest. Now, these are wild animals, and we do not chase them, we do not pressure sightings, and we do not control the sightings. What we do out of our 25 years of experience guiding in orca territory, we do understand deeply is their habitat, their seasonal rhythms, and their food sources. And that understanding shapes our timing. That's why our July, especially August and early September trips consistently have shown that those are the best times a year to get the highest chance, anywhere from 80 to 95% to get to see an orca in the wild. But now let's talk about shoulder season. We do get very many inquiries where people ask, what about April, May, November, March, such and such. So we consider our shoulder season, let's say mid-end of June and then mid-end of September. So June and late September offer completely different coastal experiences. And we no longer offer trips in June and mid-end of September, and I'll get to that reason at the end of the video. But like say in June, the ecosystem is just building up. The days are getting longer, the light is brighter and expansive. Humpbacks have fully returned in larger numbers, and the bait fish is active. The ocean just feels like wide open and so much more alive. The salmon, though, are increasing slowly, but they haven't yet reached peak density. Resident sightings absolutely happen, but patterns may be less predictable because feeding intensity hasn't fully peaked. So there's a sense of anticipation end of June. The season is just beginning to unfold. Late September carries a different mood altogether, I'd like to say. The air is cooler, the fog is heavier and takes longer to lift, and the light turns a little bit of golden. Salmon numbers begin tapering as major runs wind down, and boat traffic decreases, and the coastline altogether just feels more quiet. Wildlife encounters still happen, sometimes beautifully and unexpectedly, but the overall rhythm softens. Some guests love that quieter energy and they don't like the cooler weather. They prefer fewer vessels on the water, more stillness, and more spaciousness. Others specifically want to align their visit with peak feeding season when salmon numbers are strongest and resident movement is more persistent. Let's say neither choice is right or wrong. It simply depends on the experience you are hoping for and what aligns best with your schedule at home. Now, you just have to kind of like ask yourself, do you want heightened feeding energy and increased biological probability, or do you want a quieter ocean with slower pace and maybe fewer sightings? Our job, I feel, is not to oversell one over the other because, again, all our trip dates are chosen at the right time of year. And out of our 25 years of experience, July, August until early September are just the best time with the highest chance. But our job, I feel, is also to educate you so you can choose intentionally when you come to this area. Because timing in wildlife tourism isn't about marketing, it's all about being here at the right time and the right place. And of course, doing that all with the respect for the salmon cycles, respect for orca behaviors, and respect for the systems that have existed long before us. Now, Pacific salmon are more than just fish in our area. They are foundational to this, let's say, entire ecosystem. They feed, of course, the orcas, they feed bears, eagles, forests, and even the trees benefit from marine nutrients when salmon return upstream, and of course, feeds many, many people in this area. So when we say dates matter, what we're really saying is ecosystems matter. When salmon returns in force in late July through early September, northern resident killer whales often become more active in feeding corridors. Their travel routes can become more focused around food concentration. That alignment increases, of course, your opportunity window to get to see an orca. It does not create certainty, though, but it creates, I would say, alignment. And alignment is everything in the wild. That's why our core expedition season sits where it does. It's intentional, and Jesse and I have put in over the years a very strategic, and it's kind of like rooted in the ecologically and not so much in the advertising part of coming here in the summer, but just the fact that July, August, and early September just simply are the best dates. So if you are planning your trip and wondering which dates to choose, ask yourself, what kind of ocean do I want to experience? Peak salmon season with heightened feeding energy, or shoulder season with softer light and quieter waters? Either way, you are stepping into a living, breathing coastal ecosystem. And if you align your timing thoughtfully, you give yourself the greatest possible chance to witness something extraordinary, a wild orca surfacing on its terms in its own home. Well, I would call it magic. That moment can't be staged either. It can't be scheduled. But, you know, it can be truly respected. And that's actually what we build our dates around, is the respect for wildlife, community, and of course our guests. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I look forward to our next episode soon. Bye for now.